Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we ask that you please take your seats. The press conference will begin momentarily.
All right. Hey, it's on. Hi, everybody. Happy New Year. Yeah, good to see everybody. My name is Dan Hicken. It's great. Great time. Great New Year. Let's see, driving in, I cursed at somebody, some road rage, and I ate a donut this morning, so I'm 0 for 2 on the resolution. So we're off to a good start, right? So it's good to be here. Welcome to our Fireside Chat and Press Conference here with the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl. Grateful to have all of you here. And great audience, great to see a lot of folks, a lot to see the Green Jackets, the corporate partners, and our friends, and Duke and Ole Miss. Want to welcome them as well to our city in Jacksonville. Just want to let you guys know that our event today is sponsored by Memory Lane. Memory Lane digitized our historic Gator Bowl footage in preparation for tomorrow's special 80th anniversary game. You'll be seeing that footage in action on the Jumbotron throughout the game tomorrow. Also, following today's program, a box lunch will be provided to all guests, courtesy of Metro Diner. So in just a second, we're going to invite both head coaches to come on stage. We'll have a brief chat with them, have some fun, chop it up a little bit. And then following our chat, we will open the floor to the media who have any questions, and we'll be able to do that as well. So spend a little time here, just get to know the coaches a little bit, talk about their teams, and get ready for tomorrow's matchup, the first ever meeting between Duke and Ole Miss. So let's start things with Coach Manny Diaz. This is Duke's first appearance in the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl. They finished the season 9-3. Both teams 9-3, looking for that 10th win. So let's bring him up right now, Coach Manny Diaz. What's up, Coach? Thank you. Good to see you. Good to see you. And also Coach Lane Kiffin from Ole Miss. Tomorrow, mark Ole Miss's fourth appearance in the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl. Ole Miss finished the season 9-3 also and ranked 14th in the nation. So somebody's going to get 10 wins after tomorrow night. Coach Kiffin. How are you? Good to see you. Good to see you. Let's have a seat here. Talk some ball, talk some stuff. A lot of people may not know, Coach Kiffin, that you have a history with Jacksonville. I do because I've been here forever. I'm an old man. I'm a fat old man with white hair. But in 2000, you were here with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Talk about that memory.
Yeah, I was. It was interesting coming over the bridge today. Probably the first time I've ever been back. I was here as a young quality control coach with Tom Coughlin.
Yeah.
Dom Capers was the defensive coordinator that I worked for. So it was a really neat year here and great place to be back to.
Yeah, and great to have you back here. Coach Diaz, we were talking just a moment ago. Man, college football is so chock full of, man, the rules change every day, it seems. I just think about you guys, and I think as football coaches, there must be such a great moment when you can finally just go on the grass and be with your teams and coach football, which is really what you guys want to do. But, you know, the way the landscape is changing every day, every month, every year. Just talk a little bit about that and talk about, you know, the part that you guys love the most, which is coaching ball.
Yeah, on the side of our door, it does say football coach. And that's probably the thing we get to do the least. You know, being a head coach and then not being a head coach for 2 years and then becoming head coach again, it was amazing how in just 24 months the job description completely flipped on its head.
Yeah.
With all the things going on, but you have to adapt or you will be left behind.
Yeah.
But to get around our guys, to be able to coach the team, game day, I think as competitors, I think that's what we all love. So I do have to add one funny story to Lane in Jacksonville.
Please.
So in 2000, I'm at NC State, and our offense coordinator is Norm Chow.
Yeah.
And Norm gets the offense coordinator job at USC for Pete Carroll. And he's going to bring me, potentially, as his tight end coach. I'm a defensive GA, and you're just trying to get a break. You don't know if you're going to ever get hired in this profession. And Norm tells me he's talked to Pete, and he thinks he's got Pete convinced to hire me. But there's one last guy he wants to check with. There's a quality control coach at Jacksonville. But he thinks he wants to stay in the NFL. And if he stays in the NFL, then I will be an offensive coach at Southern Cal at that time. So we've been connected from afar. And I don't think I've ever told you that story, but it's pretty damn funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never knew that story. So crazy how things work. I had a little advantage. My dad and Pete went a long ways back, so kind of had a trump card there on you.
Exactly.
You guys, well, coaching is such a fraternity, though. You guys all know each other and know. If you don't know the person, then you know someone who knows somebody. Isn't that true, Coach Kiffin? I mean, you're all connected somehow, some way. You've done both professional and college. Obviously, you love the college game. Talk a little bit about that and kind of talk about what Coach Diaz was talking about in terms of the coaching part versus the constant rule changes going on in our game.
Yeah, it's changed. Like Manny talked about, just a few years ago to now has completely changed. Now I have a roster as they come out in the morning, for breakfast. I'm like, okay, making sure he's not in the portal. He's not in the portal. He hasn't opted out. So I'm just happy if they're out there now every day. But it's totally changed. The schedule has changed. so it is what it is. On Coach Diaz, have great respect, even though we've never worked together. Always have looked at his defense as very aggressive. He's done a great job, and he's been able to go in wherever he has and immediately change their defense statistically and how hard they play. And now he's got a whole team doing it as a head coach.
Yeah, the game within the game is something that we're all excited about, watching your defense against Coach Kiffin's offense. That should be a lot of fun for the fans tomorrow, and to see the two chess masters go at it. Just talk a little bit about that as far as the football game itself.
Well, yeah, he mentioned our defense, and one of our hallmarks is creating negative plays, and so that's something we track year to year. And I don't know, I think Lane's turning into a defensive genius himself. Like his defense, and Pete does a great job, but his defense and what they've done this year are almost historical numbers in terms of disruption of tackle for losses and sacks. So, like I said, it's hard to put on the bowl banner like, hey, come for the TFLs, stay for the warm weather. But that's kind of what we have here. Offensively, of course, I've always had a lot of respect for Lane, very creative. I think what we want to be defensively is what he is offensively, which is always in attack mode, always trying to get other teams out of their comfort zone, and I think that's one of the more difficult things about the game is when you have two teams that are trying to attack, who's really dictating the terms.
Mm-hmm. Coach, you got a special relationship, I know, with your quarterback, and you have had a great quarterback room while you've been at Ole Miss. Just talk about Jackson and what he's meant to your program here, as you have had 2 great years in a row with him.
Yeah, Jackson's been an amazing leader to come in and over the 3 years set a bunch of school records. I think most wins and most yards and those things. But his impact and his legacy that he leaves in the younger players is amazing, in the younger quarterbacks. So he's been great. I think, in a lot of these games, non-playoff games, we see so many, players opt out of playing that are going to be draft picks. And I think for him to come out right away and say he's playing impacted a lot of our other players. I think that in a lot of times nowadays would have opted out to prepare for the draft. So he's amazing.
Yeah, and Coach Diaz, I know with you guys, you started great. You had a tough loss with SMU, lost the next one, but you got them back and got them rolling again. How did you do that? How did you accomplish that? Could have went south, it didn't. You got these guys playing good football after a midseason couple losses, and were able to finish with 9 wins.
Well, my first go around at Duke, you realize these are not normal guys.
Right.
I've been blessed to coach at some really, really awesome programs and schools. The kids that Duke attracts they're just unique. Mm-hmm. You can't get into Duke without having the ideal of hard work, discipline, sacrifice. You had to have that, and as coaches, a lot of times we're the first person ever to instill that in the people we get to coach, and that's one of the fun parts of our job. Mm-hmm. At Duke, you don't have to worry about that. Our guys are extraordinarily resilient. They're very mentally tough. We had a great record this year in 1-score games and coming from behind, and so they don't flinch. They just come in every day. It sounds almost like a cliche thing a coach would say, but our guys don't have bad days. I mean, they want to be coached. They want to get after it, and it's been one of my most rewarding years as a coach just because of who they are every day.
Well, like I said, congratulations to both of you guys. I thought before we open it up to questions, this is an honor, Coach Kiffin, Coach Diaz, so just bear with me, but I'm just going to try to help myself a little bit here. Coach Kiffin obviously is big on Twitter, as you know, so I thought, if you don't mind, I'll just do a quick selfie here. Everybody smile. Coach Kiffin, thank you. If you could like that, by the way, I'd appreciate it. At Dan Hicken, I'd like to get a few more followers, so if you don't mind that, I thank you very much. We're going to open it up to some media. Anybody who has any questions for Coach Diaz or Coach Kiffin? I see Smitter right here. You want to get him a mic? Right over here.
How you doing? To both coaches and whoever wants to jump in first, the climate of college football with the portal, with opting out, things like it's been termed sometimes by people like me as a wild, wild west situation. Do you think that to solidify things, do you think that college football needs a commissioner of sorts, some overseeing power that maybe can bring a little stability to this? And one of the names I've seen floated for this is Nick Saban. I saw this the other day and everything, but what's your feelings on that?
I'll let you go first.
Yeah, there needs to be something. As you mentioned, Wild Wild West, it's just kind of all over the place in the schedule and, for coaches to deal with. players going in the portal, and I mentioned it before, like Manny's situation. Here goes a quarterback in the portal. Well, we're still playing. You would never create a system in any professional sports that has things figured out that would have free agency, right at the end of regular season before the postseason. And so, and with all the tampering that's been talked about and stuff and all that, it puts in the kids' heads during the season that they're going other places. So there's a lot of problems, a lot of issues. I mean, you mentioned Coach Saban. I can't imagine there being a better person that genuinely has the best interest for the game and the kids. He always has. He's always been old school that way. So there couldn't be a better person than him to do it.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're pretending we're still a one-semester sport. Today is January 1st. This is usually when the last day of the football season took place. And movement at mid-year was because people want to be there for the spring semester. And I've been an advocate that we need to go to an NFL calendar. We need to get rid of spring football and move it into early summer OTAs and mini camps. We don't have to invent this. The league has already figured it out. And it's ludicrous, like Lane says, to have player movement while the season's going on. And the only reason that's the case is because kids want to be at the spring semester at their next stop. And why do they want to be there for the spring? They want to be there for spring practice. So if we can take away the incentive to move midterm, we can finish a season. Penn State played last night. They have played 3 games since we played our final regular season game. And if all things go well for them, they will play 2 more games, right? All the way to January 20th. So the season, we're a spring sport now. We need to just act like that. And the last thing I'll say on the commissioner, I agree. I think Coach Saban would be phenomenal as a commissioner, but it doesn't matter who the commissioner is. You have to give the guy power. And right now the power is with the leagues. And if everyone wants to get in the sandbox and play nice and let someone be in charge of it, then that would be the best thing. But right now, no one is showing that they're willing to let somebody create consensus. And I think that's what's hurting our game.
You have so many different people governing your game right now, right? Commissioners, the conferences.
Which means no one is.
Right. So, exactly. Who else?
You brought up how active Coach is on Twitter. Do you actually tweet your tweets, or there's somebody else? Because you're hilarious on Twitter. So what's the inspiration behind it? Is it the youth that's keeping you young? But that's one of the things that I've noticed about you, outside of your offensive prowess.
Yeah, I think just on Twitter, I've always just kind of thought of myself as a normal person. Maybe I shouldn't have, and I just kind of tweet like normal people do, not like a head coach. And so I know that's not ideal sometimes. Usually our fan base loves it, our university loves it, and everyone else hates it. So kind of is what it is. But I think it's actually fun to watch the interaction of fans and going back and forth. And so, yeah, I do those most of the time. A lot of times it's just people send friends of mine or people send me something and they just know that I'm going to retweet it. So, it is what it is. It's kind of fun. And I think it's taken too serious a lot of times.
Got one here, one here.
I'd just like to give Coach Diaz a chance to, when we had the opening teleconference a couple days after Selection Day, he talked at length about Kennedy Charles, and I want to give you another chance to brag on the local kid from Orange Park High School. Kennedy, defensive tackle, he transferred from Liberty. He told me that he had 4 good years at Liberty, got his degree, but he was looking for a fit for his skills. And he said he scouted the teams he might go to, and when he saw that you were going to Duke, he kind of was gravitating towards that situation. But why do you think Kendi has been a fit for Duke, and why Duke was a good fit for Kendi?
Well, what we saw on film when he was at Liberty was that he was very active. In our defense, very similar to, again, the numbers that Ole Miss has put up this year. We value, change of direction, movement skills, and guys that can finish plays in the backfield. You can't be where we are in tackle for losses unless you get your feet across the line of scrimmage, right? So I think that system fits Kendi very well. There's just a very particular guy that we look for with our defensive tackle play. But it's wild because I think about it was almost a year to the day when we really were going hard after Kendi and in this crazy world of portal, which Coach understands. I mean, it's like speed dating, and so to assess how people are going to be a perfect fit when you're really recruiting maybe over a 72-hour period is about how it went. And but I'll say Kendi on our team has really bonded with our guys. I think as great as he's been for Duke, I think Duke has been great for him as well. And I think he's got the respect of everybody in our locker room.
Along those lines, what's it like for you guys when the season ends? You have to re-recruit your players, right? You're recruiting high school players. You're paying attention to the portal. You talked about the NFL model, and it seems like that's where we're headed. Do you think that as well? You've been on both sides. Do you think that that's the way to go, Lane?
Yeah, I do. It just, there's so many problems within that as you talk about, you're basically a lot of times renegotiating with your own players as the season's still going at the end because you're trying to get them locked down before the portal starts, and then you got other players coming in, and then they're visiting places, and you're still playing.
Right.
And we've even had kids go in that we've still let play in the game because they're still part of the team. It's not the kid. First off, it's not the kid's fault. It's the system's fault.
Right.
So sometimes you can get upset with the kids. It's not their fault at all. And so we've actually had kids that play in the game that miss practice to go visit other schools and come back to practice come back to the game. So, I mean, just if you think of it that way, what a broke system it is, or broke schedule.
Yeah.
And so we're just all trying to manage through it, but it definitely needs to be fixed.
Mm-hmm. This young man has a question right here. You got you the mic.
Do y'all, this is for both of the coaches, do y'all go over the playbook every practice, or do y'all just go over it one day a week?
Mm-hmm.
What's your name? Chase? That's an awesome question, Chase, and you're a pretty brave dude for asking it, so I salute you. I don't know how you operate. I don't like playbooks. I'm not even a big believer in playbooks. I think they're kind of archaic. Chase, your generation learns from a lot of different ways other than books. So we do a lot of teaching through video and PowerPoints and things like this. So I would imagine for his bunch as well, is that by the time any good team, you do things repetitively again and again, and you don't have to look at your playbook. It's like reading music. You know how to play the songs, and we get to have a show tomorrow, and we just get to play our music together.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think a lot of people think the playbook still exists like that, but like Coach Diaz says, a lot of stuff's now just on their iPads, and a lot of different walkthrough. Different kids learn now differently, I think, than they used to. They struggle to pay attention very long, so we end up going outside a lot and just going on the grass.
True story, Coach Kiffin, you may not know this, and I assume you do this all the time, but when you were at Alabama and you were the OC, we were at the SEC championship game. He played Florida one year, I think, and Coach Kiffin oftentimes, when he sees a play unfold in front of him and he knows it works, he'll celebrate like he's got hand in the air or whatever, but you always left your binder, not a binder, but it's like laminated, like 4 or 5 pages of plays or whatever. And I was out there doing live shots after the game, and I looked at it, and I said, "Oh, this is Coach Kiffin's." I took it. It's a nice souvenir in my house, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Well, by the way, I put my hands up a lot back then, and then they just would catch when it would work. A lot of times, we'd throw an interception, they just wouldn't show it. So I do that 20 times a game, just hoping that maybe it'll work.
Anybody else? Yes.
Coach Diaz, with this being your first bowl appearance as Duke's head coach, what does this opportunity mean for you and your team?
Well, it's a big deal for Duke. Our first time at the Gator Bowl, playing in a New Year's Day or a January 2nd game in Florida. We became bowl eligible midway through the season. I told the guys, the more you win, the warmer the destination and the better team you're going to play. And I didn't think they were listening to me, but unfortunately they were, because we got to a much better destination and then an outstanding opponent. I think it's where what we need for our program, though, is to, I'm sure like everybody, our goal is to be in the college football playoff. We saw how close we were against one of our opponents that made the playoff. And so we're telling our guys, if that's our where we're headed for next year, if you show up, guess who you're going to find? You're going to find a team just like the one we're going to play tomorrow. So it's a great challenge to see, how we would be on that stage, and it's a great setting, you know what I mean, to be here the week. The hospitality of the bowl has been first class, and our players have really noticed a difference of what it means to come to the Gator Bowl, and what happens when you win enough big-time games, you go to a big-time location, and they're feeling that. They felt that all week.
Anyone else before we wrap it up?
Yeah, first meeting between Duke and Ole Miss, but Coach Diaz, this isn't your first time going against Ole Miss as well, having spent some time in Starkville. How does it feel for you to kind of reignite, I guess, your personal rivalry here against Ole Miss?
Yeah, there's no egg up here, I noticed. Yeah, had two crazy games in the Egg Bowl. The visiting team won both. So I'm aware of how, how football is in that state, and also it gives, even more respect for what Lane is building and to win consistently in that state. So, and certainly know the fan base is being passionate, and we expect that to be in full force tomorrow.
All right, great stuff. Appreciate it. Coach Lane Kiffin, Coach Manny Diaz, Ole Miss and Duke coming up tomorrow. Nice round of applause for these two men. Busy days ahead. Congratulations to both, and good luck tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all.
All right.
Thank you. Thanks to the whole committee, too. This week's been awesome for our players and coaches, and it's just been amazing. Thank you.
Good deal. Good deal. Thank you all.